Hi and welcome to W2 Kitchen, where today we're making hiyashi chuka, which is a summer ramen. We're going to use some tomatoes, some cucumber, some ham, some eggs that we're going to make into an omelette, and then our dressing will be ginger, a little bit chili oil, sesame oil, some vinegar. This is quite a sour recipe. Chicken stock, and then we're going to use a little bit of mirin, a little bit of soy sauce, and some sugar without a spoon in it. We're going to start by making an omelette. There's not a lot of cooking involved here, so it's just the omelette and cooking the noodles, which I haven't showed you yet, but that's okay. After this, it is just a case of chopping up all the other ingredients, all in strips. And you can see the whites have sort of almost completely nullified. All the yolks are very well immersed. It's very well whisked because they're not separating when you lift the chopsticks out of the mixture. I'm going to strain that just for a little bit smoother consistency. You do not have to do this. So again, this is not an essential part, but I like when the omelette is super even. If you are wondering why I have a wet patch on my shirt, it's because I did the dishes for once. So, touch of oil. You see when the oil is tracting into itself. This is a non-stick pan, so that's when you know that it's going to be fairly hot. And then we want just enough egg mixture to cover the entire pan. The slower you cook your omelette, the more evenly cooked it will be. So I actually suggest doing it on a lower heat. While the omelette is cooking, the ham is already split in half as where the bone was. You really want thick cut ham. This is a little bit too thin, but thickest cut you can find. So we're just going to slice this into strips. If you think that these last 5 videos have all been done on the same day because of this stupid knife, you're incorrect. I just really like Global Knives, if they make good knives. So tomato, keep making sure your pan is in the correct place to cook the omelette perfectly. You can use the seeds if you want. I think it doesn't require them. I prefer especially the aesthetics, but also I think that they're not conducive to the result of the dish in this case. Keep them, salt them. So tomatoes, again, just into strips. I think tomatoes are something that's important to get the nicest ones that you can. There's a big difference between bad tomatoes and good tomatoes. There is also a big price difference, so nicest ones you can afford. Like for example, mushrooms, organic mushrooms and normal mushrooms. Well, not only do they taste the same, mushrooms can't grow in a conventional environment because the pesticides stop the mushrooms growing. So you're buying the same mushrooms, ones with a label. Tomatoes, however, the soil is super important. Our omelette is now ready. We want to make everything about the same size. So I'm gonna say that that needs to be cut into about 3. And then, so I think this is something that actually is a good point to make. If I cut from here to here, it's going to take comparatively a long time. And I don't know, this is definitely something that chefs think about. I've just halved my time by cutting it in half and adding the layers on top of each other, and then done the same again. And that is a really good way to save a lot of time while you're cooking, because if you do that with everything, it will add up to minutes, and that starts your cooking process a lot earlier. We don't need these tomatoes, but they'll be nice for color. Other chef's tips for saving a lot of time while you're cooking is working with a bin beside you. So by a bin, I mean a vessel that you can throw all your scraps in and then throw that away at one time, because right now I'm being a bit of a donkey idiot. These knives might be made in Japan, but I guarantee that it wasn't a Japanese person that designed that. Same size. I only like half of the skin of cucumber, so this is not necessary. But if I'm making something, I'm going to make it as good as I can make it. I think they're called English cucumbers, and I don't quite know why, because they're grown in Holland. But these long cucumbers that you find in supermarkets, especially in Britain, I don't know about the rest of the world. The seeds are not a nice part of the cucumber, so for me it's really essential that you remove the seeds. and then into batons. I don't know why this is called a strip and this is called a baton. Last thing is ginger. I've got a little bit that I've peeled. So while we're prepping the vegetables, I'm going to grate some ginger. This is for the sauce. These sort of spiced aromats, like ginger, wasabi, even like onions, like spring onions and chives. I find them really summery, so I like to go quite heavy on them in summer and a lot less so in the winter. And this is definitely a very summery dish that we're doing. All right, I suppose I should explain. We've got some beni shoga here. It's completely different from sushi ginger. Beni is red and shoga is ginger, whereas gari is sushi ginger is specifically for sushi. The flavor is completely different except for the ginger element and the vinegar element. So really important that it is beni shoga. Next we're going to make our sauce, and the last thing we're going to do is cook the noodles. So for our sauce, we're going to start with a little bit of chicken stock. Go in with half vinegar. We're going to want more soy sauce than that. Bang on. We want to make it a little bit sweet. For that, I'm going to add a little bit of mirin. So mirin by choice. If you can't do alcohol, then mirin's not the correct option because by virtue it is alcoholic. There is one that's non-alcoholic, but it's full of high fructose corn syrup, and for that I would prefer to use sugar. We're going to finish that with some sesame oil. I like quite a bit of sesame oil in this, however it's up to you. I know it is quite powerful. And then a little bit of chili oil, which Edwin made here. So chicken stock, umami, soy sauce, a little bit of umami, salty, sugar and mirin, both sweet. Then we've got a little bit of spice from the chili oil and the aromatic from the sesame oil. Finally, I'm just going to add juice from some ginger that I grated just before. Now I'm going to recommend to do that to taste. I like quite heavy on ginger, especially in the summer when it's warmer. I think it's quite a nice cooling aromat. We've got some noodles that are specific for hiyashi chuka. You can pick them up at good Japanese supermarkets. If you can't find them, then at Chinese supermarkets there is probably an alkaline noodle, and that will work very well as well. So into boiling water. We really want to be ready for when they come out. You've got at least 3 minutes. Okay, noodles are cooked. Alkaline noodles retain such a nice bounciness that they're quite forgiving. With noodles, it's really important that you do give them a little mix because the center of the mass of noodles will retain quite a lot of heat in comparison to the parts that are a lot more exposed to the ice water. Drain off your noodles. Now we're going to assemble that. I like to mix all of the noodles and all of the toppings together when I hiyashi chuka. So I always put sauce on the bottom. I think it looks a bit more aesthetic. Our pile of noodles doesn't have to be super neat because we're going to use the toppings to sort of make it look like Mount Fuji. It's literally what it's supposed to look like. A little bit more sauce on that because I added a little bit more noodles. Right, so our omelette, tomato. Traditionally the tomato would be completely red, just quite like other coloured tomatoes. I think their flavour profile is quite interesting. Cucumber, ham. Optionally, you could use a king crab leg meat or fake crab, what's it called? Crab sticks. Yeah, so it kind of looks like a mountain, and then beni shoga on top. And that is hiyashi chuka done.